Behold, the 2300X AMD Zen Plus treat for low-end OEM. Released on September 10th in 2018, the 2300X wasn't a very relevant chip. As you can see, the coverage of it from past competitions was far and thin between. Not really surprising, as AMD is known to hide these gems. So how did I end up with one of these little gems, you surely are asking? I bet you're just wondering and dying to know. eBay. Oh, eBay, my beloved middle child of commerce. I mean the collector or hoarder, as the non-believers like to call me. Those people. But I digress. Found a listing. Not just any listing. A listing with the best offer. That's right. You know I use my social skills to acquire this deal. Yeah, masterclass social skills. Anyways, $20 2300X to make you holla. This chip only has 4 cores, 4 threads, but a blazing fast 4 gigahertz. The chip your R5 1600X girlfriend tells you not to worry about. Sorry, my little 1200, you're getting cucked. Don't believe me? Look up AMD Jokes aside, I think these benchmarks may change their opinion of those who don't believe in the 2300X supremacy. The 2300X makes mincemeat of this 2018 game, or DICE really outdid themselves with this beauty of a game. While looking like an early piece of art straight from Germany's vault, jokes aside again, this is going to be the best example of these benchmarks. At Ultra, it does dip, looking at those 1% lows, but playing myself, no fake gamer on this channel, it feels smooth. Well, when the big nuke isn't doing a touchdown, but my love believes in airstrike supremacy, so your mileage may vary. With this amount of success, I feel myself getting a little excited to see the shift to high and even low. Luckily, your dealer has your back, the numbers are in, bam! The frames are decent for what is a reminder, a $20 chip. Don't forget that, $20 chip. Seeing the average in 1% lows, it's clear high settings is where I'd stick to. High runs well, with a 71 average and a 1% level only 47, so you can't complain. Certain maps will obviously have some critiques, and certain maps will actually dip a little harder, but I mean, overall it's about the same. On the medium settings, you gain a little back. We go from 71 to 87 on the average, and from 47 to 51 on the 1%. Honestly, it's all smooth, so really it doesn't matter, but for those technical nerds, that is the 1% jump. The game ran smooth, the game ran fluent. I don't know much more I can say about it. It's honestly a great experience. Personally, Battlefield has always been a fun one to run. It runs easy, it runs nice, and it runs like fun. What does fun run like? Like Battlefield 5. I find the game to be really fun to just kind of grab your friends, get a low-end hardware PC to test, and just do a few rounds. Alright, let's look into the next single-player game so you basement dwellers can pause and finish that Gooner Slop any percent speed run. Yeah, I know what you're up to. You may notice the GPU is different, and that is because it's the current budget king, the RTX 2070 Super. So yeah, the RX 580 wouldn't run on this, obviously, because Unreal 5 is kind of a pain to run. So I had to pull up the RTX 2070 Super, hence why I have audio. Actually, the audio is kind of broken due to the RX 580's drivers. Anyways, to the preset, we're on the medium preset with high textures. I think its DLSS is on, actually, set to probably the DLSS. Man, I love saying that. Preset is set to balanced to kind of work. As you can see, the frame rate's not the best. It has like an average of 42 with a max of 55, and the 1% lows are just atrocious at 3 at some points. That's from like the spawning when you're loading it in. Honestly, this game runs like hot dooku on anything. I'm not going to really do another benchmark in any other preset because I find it's kind of pointless. Even the lows, like it's either it runs or it doesn't. I mean, it's a real shame that ARC/Wildcard did this. Like, thanks again for this glorious port. If you couldn't tell, that was sarcasm. But I will say, if you're a real fan, comment how many crashes you put up in one day to play this game. Personally, mine is up. Next, we have 7 Days to Die. This is a classic. It's been around for a while. I'm doing the medium preset, as I think that's the most comfortable spot you're going to get with all the performance additions they have. We got an average of 70, which is pretty good, a max of 97, which is crazy, and a low percent of 53, which is okay. So I traveled around to test out the feel of it. There's no stutters, of course. If you look at the frame times, it's clean as can be. You could even probably go to the high settings if you don't mind a little bit of choppiness. The horde setting wasn't tested, as I didn't really feel like it was needed. It's going to hit you harder, of course, but as long as you stay in the medium, you could go high. but you risk that not running well, obviously. What you saw me was exploring one of the little POIs, or points of interest, as they have it. They have a lot of those. They're actually pretty good. I would really suggest you checking them out. Like, just exploring and checking out the POIs is probably one of the better parts of the game. Not even like the part of like surviving. It's just exploring. There's your peak right there. I then spent a little bit of time doing the tutorial, hitting the rock, as you can see right here. And then I looked around and found my next POI, as you do. And I moved on, and you can see me kind of just playing through the POI, and there's quite a few zombies, but yeah, they're nothing for me. I'm an experienced player. One could have a lot of fun with this game. It runs pretty well on a lot of old hardware too. I want to see if I can do SLI on it maybe. I haven't really looked into that, so look forward to that. This is also being ran on an RX 580, so that's pretty nice that a card that old with no driver support is actually running well on this game. So there's always that, you know, a lot of people like to talk out like old cards like they're nothing, but like a lot of them still running without the compatibility drivers. And if you want them, there are unofficial drivers for RX 580s. To finish it off, I just kind of ran through the PUI medium settings. Like I said, stick to medium. If you're a 580 user, like some of you are, stick to them. Find your zealot friend, bunkered down in the dirt, enjoy a night hanging out with that homie, and going to Pound Town with the Blueberry Pie. Alright, time to move up on the timeline. This one is quite a notorious game on launch, but this game also had quite the comeback. After the release of a companion anime, you may have seen it called Edge Runners. Yeah, well that exploded the player base. Steam charts show a jump from 32,178 to, are you ready? 274,526. Insane, right? Game companies figuring out if you put out a fire show, it will bring the sheeple in her. Later, it will get a real nice expansion called Phantom Liberty, which I quite enjoyed myself. Very nice story. I suggested just terrible performance on launch. Like, these soldiers were on the front field testing these games through, and it was atrocious on my 3080. Now, after patching and optimization, the game runs well on the medium preset with FSR 2.1 enabled and crowd density set to low. Driving feels, well, as smooth as vanilla can feel. The driving's always felt slippery. The bike's are manageable, but later the luxury cars feel like melted butter down a slip and slide. Moving on to getting physical with range steel, fire fights feel smooth. The frames do drop, but never enough to notice. Sorry, 60 plus FPS only gamers. Try the 2600 slop instead. I didn't mean it, baby. I've sold plenty of 2600 builds, honestly. The go-to-budget builds, really, if we're speaking about, you know, logistics. We will actually be looking at that $30 Legend sometime in the future when I get off my cinder block of a dumpy to work on. Fun fact, the 3600 is coveted for its Gen 4 support, but if you're just selling for or gaming, Gen 3 is plenty. With the 36 around 60 and the 2600 around 30, it's clear which is actually a better choice.
Check it out, check it, check it, check it out, check it, check it out, check it, check it, check it out, check it, check it out, check it, check it, check it out, check it, check it out, check it, check it, check it.
Next we have our esports of the last couple of years, Marvel Rivals, on the low. It runs pretty well with an average of 62 and a max of 74. This game's pretty comfortable to play, like there's not much you can say. I haven't really played much of it, so my gameplay is definitely not the best. Ignoring my gameplay, I can only say it's pretty decent. Like a lot of people like this game. I don't really enjoy MOBAs, so you wouldn't see me playing this. The game is designed to run on potatoes, so I'd honestly probably think about trying some Core 2 Duos if the instruction set is correct for it. Definitely some Ivy Bridge, 3770K. Anybody? Okay, so now we're at the actual low settings. My bad. The prior one were the lowest settings. With an average frame rate of around 62. 1% lows look dire, but they're really not that bad. If you look at the frame time, it's pretty consistent. There's little ups and downs, but like it's a consistent frame time. More gameplay. Gameplay is me trying some new characters in a lobby. I didn't really find anything else I liked. kind of just like the shark, squirting the water, getting people wet, being a slip and slide. A lot of toxic players in this lobby too, but it was an overall pretty good experience. Like, you can't really go wrong with these kind of games. I'm not going to do any high settings because any lower than this will kind of make it not worth it to play. Though you can't really see a difference. So, I mean, for most people, hey, you'll like it. Next is the peak of gaming for some, a Dark Souls classic, you could say, in the Soulsborne series that actually isn't a part of it. It's Elden Ring. The game is being ran at the high settings preset, as it should be. Due to the engine limitations, you can only do 60 FPS, no unlocked frame rate. Not that you need anything higher than that. In caves, you get the average you should, 60s. So you could honestly have a pretty good experience in caves. As for outside, things are a little different once we get outside. We're seeing an average of 55, so you lose 5, no biggie. And now I'm trying to fight something I shouldn't, because balls of steel, am I right? Go hard or go home. The frame rate doesn't really change much throughout this battle. It's about average of 55, 1% lows of 41, and a maximum of 60. Which kind of makes sense because it's from the 2022, right before Unreal 5 slot kind of took over and destroyed optimization for the 3rd time in the industry. Thanks, Epic. Great engine. Loving the optimization. So glad we could have this nice sheen. Story time. I would feed my child Elden slop for days, but in return, they would just sit there and spew Melania as my queen. It was no hesitation when I banished them to the low FPS Blight Town. This game also has a really sick multiplayer mod, Elden Together. You should definitely check out if you and your friend want to do a full playthrough. It really elevates this game, especially since you can run it on old potato hardware. To conclude all this, I have found that the $20 Ryzen OEM paired with the $20 RX 580 is very workable. You'll need to drop some settings in a lot of games, even from their time, but they are their top of the line, and that's fine. F.a.Q time. Would I suggest ship? No, there's much better options, examples being the 2600 at 30, the 1600 at 20 and 25, and if you can't find that, the 1500 with its 4-core 8-thread would be a better alternative at 1520. Prices are based off sold findings I've found on eBay. Next question, if this was in a cheap build, could I daily it? And let's just say, people, if it can run RimWorld, I can daily it. Rendering would be fun though. Lastly, we're going to talk about the current market. It's slow but full of gems. I recently picked up the 580 that I used in the video with older processors of 2500K, a P67A B3, 264 gigs of DDR3, with a first or second gen Corsair IIO. The price I paid for all that? $100. The board and chip alone go for $50 on eBay's plus shipping, and it came with a surprise 560D. I can't really benchmark to that card because I sold it with the combo and made my money back and all of it. As for anything for AAA modern, the 9060 XT is competitive. For you, scoop up a 3070 around 200-250. They run most things at 1080p, perfectly fine at high settings, so a 3070 honestly would be my go-to. The 90 series are rare and overpriced. Most of the older 70 series, like the 4070, aren't really worth it more than $450 if you can't find anything like that. 57 new if you can, because it's a good price for NVIDIA if you don't feel like doing AMD. Or you can't find one of this elusive 97 MSRP. And I think that's going to be it for this video. You know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, maybe leave your boy a crumb or two in the form of a like, a comment, and a sub. Tell me your recent experience with the 2300X, older right now, or even a good finesse you've recently got on the used market. Anyways, sayonara!